The recording started. The recording started. So Jenna's going to start us off at 12.1.
All right.
Take it away.
Okay. Audiens autem miliuc, servum suum iturum venire, ad visitandum eum, ut morem quem nolebat in fine vitae faceret, quasi per vim, ne servo subjectus fieret, et illes sibi dominaret, instinctu diaboli sponte se igni tradidit, etc. Autem, however, audiens hearing with, Milic hearing that servum suum iturum venire, that his slave was going to come ad visitandum eum to visit him, ut, so that morem faceret, he might make the custom quem nolebat in fine vitae, which he didn't want to or was unwilling to do in the end of his life, at the end of his life, quasi per vim, as if through violence he was going to make him follow that custom. Ne servo subjectus fieret, so that he wouldn't be subject to his slave. Et ille sibi dominaret, and that guy would be a master for him. Instinctu diaboli, by the prompting of the devil, sponte, willingly, se igni tradidit, he handed himself over to fire. Et in domu, in qua prius habitavarat re, congregato ad se omni instrumento substantiae suae in and in the house in which he had previously lived, the king, with all the instrument, all the stuff of his property, having been heaped up toward him, in casus est, he was set on fire.
Yep. Seriously weird. Also, the Latin is seriously weird, right? Mm-hmm. There's all that switching of subjects.
Yep.
And I think you're right. I mean, I think you took it the way my note took it at the beginning, that it's miliuc quem nolebat, who doesn't want. I think that's got to be right. And Patrick that makes the morem, I think is better. It makes as much sense almost if it's miliuc who if you think faceret morem is changed the custom, but yeah. It's very difficult. And then it switches again, doesn't it? Subjectus fieret, and then becomes dominaret. So I guess we just have to understand that Murchú does that, changes without really giving us any help.
Yeah.
Changing the subjects.
Well, I was wondering about habitavarat. Is it Patrick who had lived there before?
Oh, I don't think. Isn't it just? I took it that pluperfect is just a kind of a vague. It's like the king had lived there before he burnt himself to death.
I mean, it just, like that just sounded so odd. I mean, the whole passage I thought was kind of odd, but that like the king lived there before he killed himself there. Like I thought it was a very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought the whole thing was strange.
Mm-hmm. But it is sort of logical. I mean, the pluperfect isn't totally right. He had lived there and then he killed himself. Right?
I guess. I mean, that to me, it sounds like then he didn't live there anymore, but he did still.
You're right, which he had lived that he went back to his childhood home for something. Right. Yeah. But I don't think so.
No, I think it has to be the house he was living in.
Right.
Right.
Usque ad finem vitae.
Right. Do we know anything about this habit of people burning themselves to death rather than converting to Christianity? Is this an Irish?
It sounds more Scandinavian to me. I mean,
okay.
There is a very classic case of human sacrifice in Scandinavian Russia, Kievan Russia, that is like a fairly rare version of medieval sacrifice,
Mhm.
and a human sacrifice involving a young girl being put on a boat.
The Ibn Fadlan.
Yeah, chieftain and sorry, what?
The Ibn Fadlan report.
Right. And but it seems I mean, it's a little early for Vikings in Ireland.
Right.
You know, I mean, the Irish, I thought, were more into things like cairns, and in the Neolithic period and Mesolithic period, they were doing souterrains, which are these big hills. It was also in France and Britain, but it's very popular in Ireland, where they have these huge hills, and then they would burrow in them, or they would build on top of a structure in them, and then they would have these tunnels inside,
Right.
and they would have burial chambers. And so they certainly weren't burning in that period, at least not chieftains. They might have been practicing
burning
sacrifice,
himself.
but not burning.
This isn't just dying and having going on a funeral pyre. This is
Yeah, he's killing himself.
This is like Croesus in Herodotus, just saying, "I'm going to burn myself to death rather than be captured."
Yeah, what was his name in Herodotus? He buries himself and he has all his wives killed, and there's a famous.
Piles all his possessions. He's the richest person in the world. Piles all his possessions together. He gets on the funeral pyre and says, as it were, "Hit me." And then, then the rain comes and he changes his mind and lives happily, kind of ever after. Anyway,
well, there's a famous case of a king, and it's a 19th century painting where he has all of his concubines slain, and then burns himself. He's burned alive with their bodies.
Sardanapalus?
Yes.
So there's also some stuff in hagiography where, particularly Jewish hagiography, where they resist converting to either Christianity or Islam until even being burned to death. But nothing quite like this, because he does it of his own accord rather than as a form of torture.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it's not obvious.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay, good.
It's not. It doesn't. It sounds weird. I don't know if it might be because the Roman pagans practiced cremation regularly, and early Christians, probably to offset themselves a bit, didn't. So it may be an emphasizing that he's a pagan.
Yeah. It's certainly a pagan thing to do.
Yes, it's a very pagan thing. It's a Mediterranean pagan thing to do, certainly.
Okay, let's move on, I guess. Brian, you ready for 12.2?
I think so. We'll give it a whirl.
There's some weird stuff in here. Weird grammar and weird stuff.
Okay, well, people can help me then as we go along. So it reads, Stans autem sanctus patricius in praedicto loco a latere dextro montes mis.
A latere dextro. I'm not
Latere.
sure.
Okay.
You know that? I guess just it's a short E, so it's latere.
All right, thank you. So at first clause, I have standing firm, however, St. Patrick in the place mentioned before, on the south side of Mount Slemish, which I guess is this,
right?
Where first he was enslaved. That's ubi primum elam radionum, in that place. Now I have arriving. He saw that region with great thanks, tali gratia. So in clause servivi cum tali gratia.
Let's back it up. So ubi primum, where first,
right,
he saw that place, that region in which he, we would say, had been a slave, coming with such pleasure. Right? So where first he saw that place where he served coming there with such pleasure. Is that right? Somebody help me.
That sounds more reasonable. I had a hard time untangling that phrase, that clause.
I would take it. Let's see. Ubi with Adwenians.
Coming first.
Well, yeah, where he saw coming first that region in which he had served with such pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
and then to the parenthetical clause ubi nunc usque.
Is it not ubi primum as soon as?
Say that slowly.
Is it not ubi primum meaning as soon as?
That's what I took it as.
Okay.
So I think that makes it easier. As soon as, and then vidit. So the basic sentence is vidit illam regionem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. It's tricky for some reason. I'm not quite sure why.
I don't think it's ubi where. Like that's why I thought it was ubi primum as soon as. I don't think it's
first.
where. I
Right.
think
Right. So once you realize that it's when first, then it's simpler.
If it meant, I mean, not that I'm gonna say, where who couldn't have done that, but if it's where coming, it should be quo, not ubi.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Right. Okay. So let me just. So standing there, when first he saw that place in which he was a slave, coming there with such happiness. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Keep going, Brian.
Okay, we'll go to parentheses now. Usque crux habetur insignium. Where up to now the cross is held for a sign, as a sign.
Yep.
So there's a sign there where this all occurred.
Uh-huh.
Ad visum primum illius regionis. At the first sight, illius regionis, that country,
Mm-hmm.
illico, there and then, sub oculis, beneath his eyes, rogum regis incensum intuitis. He looked at the fiery funeral pyre of the king.
Yes.
Good. So I added an esque there at the end to make it a.
Right, and Murchu seems to be able to do that, to just throw these nominatives in there without verbs.
All right, going to the next sentence. Stupefactus igitur ad hoc opus. Amazed, therefore, at this event, this duabus a tribus fere horus nolum verbum proferens, for about 2 or 3 hours, speaking no word. Suspirans et gemens lacrimans asque, sighing and groaning and weeping, atque haec verba promens, and bringing forth these words, he said, Nescio Deus scit, I do not know, God knows, hic homo rex, qui se ipsum igni tradidit ne crederent in fine vitae suae, this man the king, who handed himself to the fire so that he would not believe at the end of his life, et ne serviet Deo aeterno, and not be enslaved to the eternal God,
Mhm.
And then repeats this Nescio Deus Scit, I do not know, God knows. Nemo de filiis eius sidebit rex super sedem regni eius ad generatione in generationem. I had that none of his sons, the
Mhm.
sons of him, will sit at a king
Mhm.
on the seat or throne of the kingdom of him.
Mhm.
And then from generation to generation in the future, I suppose.
Yes.
In super et semen eius serviet in sempi ternum. And in addition, the seed of him will be enslaved into eternity.
For eternity. Good.
Right.
Good. There's one teeny tiny point that I don't know if there's an answer to it, whether, and I've always been troubled by this. You look at sedem regni eius. It clearly does mean his kingdom, right? But how do you know it's not that kingdom as opposed to the kingdom of him? How do you know whether eius is an adjective or a pronoun? Jen, do you have an idea?
I think it's his kingdom. I mean, you've just had filiis eius meaning his sons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be odd for it
That's
not
true.
to mean.
Okay, good one. All right. Great. Thank you, Brian. That was good.
Thank you.
I'm finding this Latin much harder than I thought I was going to find it. I don't. The whole point of the whole premise of this online course was easy Latin, right?
I thought it was harder than I expected this week, for sure.
I don't think it's that hard.
Well, I find it weird and difficult, and all I'm saying is I think back of the days of the Gesta Francorum where they just, there's as long as you know the verb for decapitate, you're kind of in good shape. Anyway,
I found Sulpicius harder personally.
yeah, he's pretty hard too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Paula, do you want to take it at 12.3?
Sure. Should I have a little whiny little creature here.
Sure.
Alrighty. Let me just get everything set up. Okay. Et his dictis, orans et armans, se signo crucis, convertit, well, let's just translate that one. And these things having been said, praying and arming himself with the sign of the cross, convertit cito iter suum ad regiones ulothorum per eadem vestigia quibus venerat. He soon directed his path to the lands of the Uled through the same footsteps by which he had come.
Good.
Et Rursum, et Rursum pervenit in campum Enis ad Dicoen, and once again came into Mag Enis, the plain of Enis, to Diku. I can't pronounce Irish names worth beans.
Neither can anyone else, not even the Irish. So
there's a good point. Yeah, they don't decide it. They can't decide on it either. Ibique mansit diebus multis et circumiet totum campum, and traveled around. Okay, and there he remained for many days and traveled around the whole plain. Et elegit et amavit, and both chose and loved it. Et coepit fides crescere ibi, and began to increase the faith there.
Good, except the subject changes, right? Fides is the subject of coepit. The faith began to grow there.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
the faith is nominative. Yep.
Right. I'm not sure Cresco is ever, you know how we sometimes, I mean, I don't think we're supposed to say grow the economy, but we say grow potatoes, but I don't think you say Cresco with a direct object, right?
I don't think.
Anyway, here it's fides is nominative, so it's again, it switches, but at least he gives us the word.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so you guys know, did you see that Matt's trying to join the meeting?
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, another person, another victim.
And if anybody else wants to join, let us. Was there a message about that?
Yes, it's in the Q&A.
I'm sorry, I'll check. I need to keep. Thanks. Yeah. Hi, Matt.
Yes, Cresco is always intransitive. It's never
Okay.
something else.
Okay.
And I'm assuming Sam and Parwa Moose don't want to be promoted. Otherwise, send us a message.
I was kind of interesting because I did part of this as my thesis, is that when I was translating texts in 12th and 13th century Catalonia and Aragon, there were a lot of undeclined names.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting that we're running into undeclined names here. And I think it's interesting how they seem to just mix and match sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's declined. Sometimes the same thing is not declined. And is there a rule, or has anybody run across a rule? Because I never have.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems to be random. It's as if the scribe gets there and says, "Wow, this is foreign. I'm not sure what to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll decline it here. I can't be bothered here."
I don't know. And it means that when you see something like in the next paragraph, you get fecal fertni. You don't know if that I is because he's genitive singular or not. So it's annoying.
Yeah.
So we just do our best. I mean, the place where you see this all the time is in the Vulgate, because they tend not to decline Hebrew names, but then they do sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so we.
Yeah. What I used to see where they would not decline the Hebrew names or the Arab names a lot of times, but then sometimes they would decline them.
Right.
And the scribes, the level of Latin was very low. I mean, the scribes frequently mixed and matched local language in with it. You'd have whole words, even phrases of Catalan. And I had to get myself a Catalan dictionary while I was in Spain to be able to understand what the heck was going on. It was so it was really low level Latin, but it's curious to see here because this is much higher Latin compared to that. So it's interesting that he's doing it here.
Mm-hmm. All right, so for 13, we need a volunteer.
I'll be right back.
You want to do it? Mona.
So this is 13.
Mm-hmm.
Ad propinquavit autem Pascha in diebus is.
Mona, can you turn up the volume of your microphone or something, or be closer to it?
Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, can you hear it better now?
Much better, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ad propinquavit autem Pascha in diebus illis, quod Pascha primum Deo in nostra Aegypto, huius insulae, velut quondam in Gessen celebratum est. Autumn, now in diebus illis, in those days, Easter approached. Quod Pascha, which Easter, or which first Easter was celebrated Deo for God in our Egypt of this island, as once understood, I guess, as it once was in Goshen, or Goshen.
Yeah.
Et inierunt concilium ubi hoc primum Pascha in gentibus ad quas missit illos Deus celebrarent. And they inierunt, they came to council where, or
Exactly.
where they might celebrate this first Easter, missit illos, among the pagans, or the heathen. to whom God sent those men.
Yes.
Ilos. Multis quae super hacre, conciliis iectis, postremo, inspirato divinitus sancto patricio, visum est, hanc magnum domini solemnitatem, quasi caput omnium solemnitatem, in campo maximo, ubi erat regnum maximum nationem harum, quod erat caput omnis gentilitatis et idolatriae celebrari. Many plans or opinions, resolutions having been uttered, finally, St. Patrick, having been divinely inspired or divinely pushed, it was decided that this great solemnity or this great ritual, some kind of ritual observance of the Lord, as it were, the head or the chief one of all solemnities, be celebrated on the very great plain.
Yes.
Where there was the largest kingdom or the greatest kingdom, nationem harum, of these nations or of these peoples, which, which I think it refers to kingdom, called which kingdom was the head or the principal spot, omnium of all paganism.
Yes.
And all idolatry.
Good.
And then picking it up with what hic invictus cuneus in caput totius idolatriae ne possit ulterius adversus Christi fidem insurgere, sub maleo fortis operis cum fide iuncti sancti patricii et suorum manibus spiritalibus primus in lideretur. What hic invictus cuneus, in order that here hic cuneus invictus, a sort of invincible cuneus, a wedge. Yeah, it's kind of figurative, hopefully. An invincible wedge might be struck or hit into the head of all idolatry.
Good. Yeah, I think you have to go all the way to
the end, right?
Right.
Be crushed, yeah.
Right.
Lest it be able to rise further against the faith of Christ, sub maleo, under the hammer of strong work or steadfast work, joined iuncti with faith, by the Sancti Patrici et Suorum, by the spiritual hands, spiritalibus, manibus spiritalibus, of St. Patrick, and Suorum, his people, his men.
Right. Right. That was excellent. That's such a hard sentence. It's weird because you translated it perfectly, but somehow, I don't know how to do this in translation. One has to somehow make clear that, I mean, I guess there's context and understanding that the hammer joined with the work of the faith and the spiritual hands of Patrick,
Hmm.
are with the in literatur rather than with ne posset ulterius adversus Christi fidem insurgere. It's just, it makes perfect sense, really, but there's no way of articulating, there's no way of combining a literal translation the way you were doing. You were translating it very carefully, word for word, and somehow you'd have to almost break away from that to get to the sense of who
Mhm.
said what to whom. It's I found that a very difficult passage for some reason. So
I just always find the verb. You go for the verb,
find the verb, right?
and then
Right. And I take it this is a I haven't hunted this down. Is there some famous biblical passage or some passage that talks about wedges against idolatry, or all this hammer and wedge imagery seems very poetic or biblical, or, you know.
it's kind of like, what is it? Who is it? Ad's head. I mean,
Well, right, we had ads.
I kind of like these, curved, pointy instruments.
Yeah,
It might be more an Irish thing. It might be more a Celtic thing.
true. Right. It might be.
I can't think of anything biblical.
Right. Anyone got anything?
No, I don't. Other than, we had the ads head last week, right? And so now we've got the irresistible wedge and the head of all idolatry.
He's just got a hardware fixation.
Yeah.
Woodworking, yeah.
Right.
Definitely a fair amount of woodworking knowledge going on here, at least with someone.
Well,
If not virtue, the people he's using. So
it's what makes men, right? Power tools.
I had a question, actually. That very last word in literatur, or was crushed, what does that refer to again? What's the subject of that?
Actually, I think isn't it the wedge, or whatever he's driving into paganism?
The wedge was crushed onto the head of all the idolatry.
Okay, all right, that's straightforward enough.
Right. So, but it is kind of a weird word for something. I mean, it makes perfect sense that's what would happen to a wedge, that you would bash it against the head, right? But it's still kind of complicated.
well, what you generally do with the wedge is you stick it in a crack of wood to split the wood, and then you use the sledge to split it further, and you just keep and you bang it in as far as you can, then you loosen it, and then you bang it in and loosen it. But there needs to be a crack in the first place, and then what you're doing is you are splitting things up. You're splitting up like stubborn fibers of the wood.
I guess my problem.
Keeping in mind this, somebody referring to him as old ancestor. I lost all of that.
My point was just that in Lido you expect more to be something like shatter rather than actively drive something in. At least I would have thought that, but I think it clearly is what you do to the wedge with the hammer.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time they've used woodworker terminology, and Ireland people wanted Ireland because it had wood. It had a lot of trees at that time, so it makes sense that if he's got access to someone with woodworking knowledge, a source, or he's got woodworking knowledge, that they would be using a wood kind of metaphor.
I wondered, immediately before in literatur is primus, which could be chief. I mean, could it be the chief was crushed, or the? I didn't know how primus was fitted in here.
Primus.
I think it modifies.
Cneus.
Right. The invincible wedge was first. I would say bashed. I translated it crushed, but it means something like hammered, right? Back, you're hammered in by the hammer. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Lisa, do you want to do 14?
Sure. There were a couple of things that confused me a little, but I will do my best.
Mm-hmm.
So, elevata igitur navis ad mare. Is igitur kind of then instead of therefore here?
Mm-hmm.
So then the boat was lifted to the sea. Et dimisso in fide plena et pace bono illo viro dicu. Is this an absolute about Deku?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, good. So, and with Deku having been sent to that good man with full faith and peace.
I think the good man is Deku. So with that good man Deku having been dimisso, sent away, they just said goodbye to him in good faith and peace, in full faith and peace.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he was somebody's servant that they were sending back.
Deku, he's the guy they like.
Was he the guy who was good? Who owned the sucker?
He's the guy who sent the swineherd and was a good man.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a reference back to his introduction.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So then we have a new subject. So I guess the men leaving the field Innis, migrantes de campo Innis. Dexteraque manu demitentes omnia ad plentitudinem ministerii, quae erant ante non incongruae leua. And sending past on the right-hand side all the I got a little mixed up here with what ad plenitudinem ministerii was doing. But basically they're passing by all the things which before were on their left side,
Mm-hmm.
not inappropriately.
What is the omnia ad plenitudinem ministerium?
That's my question.
Right. That's not as obvious as I thought. So leaving behind on their right side all the things to the fullness of their ministry, which must be the territory. Is that the territory they've already converted? Which were reasonably enough on the left when they were, which was earlier on the left, right? Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have anything better for ad plenitudinem ministerii? I don't know why I wasn't troubled by that before. Leaving behind everything. I think they were just, I think it just means they're kind of happy with the conversion there. And so they're leaving it behind.
Okay. In portum hostii colti bene et prospere delati sunt. So they were carried into the port of the mouth of Boyne,
Mm-hmm.
well and favorably. Relicta quae ibinavi, pedistri itenere venierunt in praedictum maximum campum. So there, the boat having been left behind there, on foot, pedistri, they arrived to wander or to set their journey towards the aforementioned greatest field.
Yeah, I think I maybe I need a note on this. Itinerary is it just goes with pedestri. They went on a foot journey.
That makes more sense.
To that aforementioned big plain.
Mm-hmm. Donec postremo ad vesperum pervenierunt ad ferti vivorum fec, until at last they arrived by evening at the burial ground of the men of Phaeas.
Yeah, apparently.
Quam ut fabulae ferunt, which, as the stories go, foderunt viri, id est servi, men dug, that is slaves, fecol fercertni, is that the slaves of fecol fercertni?
Yes. I mean, different. I think people take this differently, but Hood takes this as a genitive. They're the men of, namely the slaves of fecol fercertni.
Okay. That makes the rest of the sentence make more sense. Qui fuerat unus e noem magis prophetis breg, who was one of 9 magical prophets of Breg.
Yes, good.
Fixaque ibi tentorio. So when the tent having been set up, debeta pascae vota sacrificium quae laudis cum omne devotione sanctus patricius construis Deo Altissimo secundum prophetae vocem redidit. All right, so St. Patrick is our subject. St. Patrick with his men redidit, returned, or kind of gave out. And then these are all accusatives, right? Debita vota. Okay, so the ode prayers of Easter and the sacrifice, loudest genitive.
Genitive, yeah.
Yeah, so the sacrifice of praise. Cum omni devotione, with every devotion. Deo Altissimo, to the highest God. And then secundum vocem prophetae, this is also an accusative with redidit, right?
No, secundum is a preposition according to.
Oh.
According to the voice of the prophet. I think that's what that has to mean. I don't know which prophet he has in mind. Does anyone know which prophet?
Yeah, it depends on exactly what he's referring to as being part of the prophet, I would suppose. I mean, is it the phrase sacrifice of praise? Is it the whole Easter thing? The sacrifice of praise, it comes from those.
Some prophet that says something like, they presented a lot of prophets say something like, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Right? I feel reasonably sure that that's in the Bible somewhere.
In fact, I'd bet your life on it, William.
Right. Just imagine all sorts of like high-powered theologians just looking at us and laughing, right? They know nothing, right? These pagans, these heathen.
Yeah, we need a theologian on this panel. There's no question about it.
I know. But it is odd. I mean, there are people who know their Bible backward and forward, and I'm not one of them. You know,
I just read the thing all the way through, and I can't. You know, some of these references are gone, over my head.
Well, right. You can. I mean, it's a lot to keep in your head.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we now at 15:1 we have a hole in our prepared.
I think I can do it. I'm kind of most of the way through translating it.
Okay.
Sorry, I've got to jump off, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Okay. See you
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Actually, Matt, do you want to try it, or you haven't?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Boy, I mean, I haven't prepared it though. That's the only thing.
This is hard. I think it needs punctuation. And also, I think I have a misleading punctuation in here that that after I started a parenthesis and never finished it.
Okay. Oh.
So I think there's supposed to be a parenthesis after Nabucodonosor Regem.
Mhm.
Oh, way down there. Okay. Yeah.
So Paula, if you want to try it, go ahead. I think it's better than trying it at sight.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Well, it's gonna be practically like sight because I'm sort of going along here. Okay.
Paula.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, before you start, William, I actually wondered, just because it's going to kind of like drive the whole sentence. You put a note saying you thought you should put essay after conjugate with solemnitatem. I don't think it's actually like an accusative infinitive after it. I think the verb is all the way down at the end. It's the
You're totally right. I forgot I even wrote that note. Right. So it happened that the solemnity of idolatry,
that they were
about exercere consuerant. Right.
Well, not the exercere consuerant. That's in a clause, but that the adorarent exercerentque, that they were
all the way back at the
I think it's all the way at the end.
Okay.
Oh, the adorarent exercerentque.
I think that's the verb that's governing solemnitatem.
How about, I'm going to make a suggestion, Paula. Jen, why don't you translate that long first sentence?
Oh, so I talk and I get to do it. I mean, if you really wanted to, Paula, I don't want to like.
It's not really that hard.
Well, I think once you have the structure of it, it's not that hard to just clause.
Yeah, the structure's pretty straightforward.
But I think if you don't take that verb as governing solemnitatem, then those subjunctives are unmotivated.
Okay.
Well, let me get this, that the basic structure, isn't it, gentilis adorarent, ilam adorarent exercerentque festivitatem gentilem, and everything else is kind of modifying or related to festivitatem gentilem.
And that's just he's restating idolatriae solemnitatem. But
Yeah.
I don't know, William, did you have another idea about why those were subjunctive?
I was waiting for you to reveal all. Right?
I think they're subjunctive after conjugate, but either way, it's weird.
Right.
I mean, it kind of seems this kind of sentence like, and in that summer, the circus with clowns and elephants and lions, and tigers and bears and jugglers and clowns came to town. Isn't that kind of the structure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was my impression. It just takes this. It's got a little prepositional phrase at the beginning, and then it's got the subject, and then it's got all these. I guess they're the ablative absolutes phrase, but they're all with phrases basically, and then you have the verbs at the end.
That's right.
With the
Well,
subject.
Paula, why don't you try since we sort of laid out the structure, why don't you kind of take it as it comes and just hack through it?
Okay. Now, some of these words I sort of translate on the fly, so they may not be exact. There might be some false friends in here, just saying. Contigit vero in illo anno idolatriae solemnitatem. It came about truly in that year of idolatry, a solemnity. And all this is basically a relative clause, isn't it? Quam gentiles, that the Gentiles, incationibus multis et magicis inventionibus, with many incantations and magic inventions, non nullisque o aliis idolatriae superstitionibus, and nothing other than superstitions of idolatry.
Non nullis is just and not a few, right? It's
okay, not a few. I was wondering how that.
some, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Some other maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Congregatis etiam regibus, with the congregation, even the kings.
With kings having collected, right? Congregro.
Oh, okay.
So
The kings-
genitive absolute, with kings having come together.
Oh, kings gathered together. Okay, yeah. Satrapis ducibus principibus et optimatibus populi, satraps, dukes, I'm using the later medieval term, I know. It's leaders, literally. Princes and optimates of the people.
Mhm.
In super et magis, and besides the mages, or mages besides.
Mhm.
Okay. Incantatoribus, orospicibus, with wizards, diviners, et omnis artis omnisque doli inventoribus, and all inventors of pain. Oh, sorry, in all arts and all inventors of pain.
The inventors of omnis artis, of all art,
Okay.
all, and this is dolos, not dolor. Dolos meaning trickery. So the inventors of all art and of all trickery.
Trickery. Okay.
Trickery.
And with doctoribus ne vocatis ad loigarium, and with doctors called to loigarium,
Loiger.
Loiger? Okay.
Yep.
Um,
But probably not doctors like medical doctors.
No.
Doctors.
no, yeah, no.
No, it's- so
More
it's-
like us.
Right. So it's actually inventoribus doctoribusve. So either discoverers of all kinds of art and trickery, or teachers of all kinds of art or trickery.
Doctor in the teacher sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
with
they'd
all
be-
of them called to loiger.
Yeah. It's a little early for the apprentice, journeyman, master version of university. So we can't really say that they're like doctors of arts.
No.
Well, we're probably talking druids.
Right.
Yeah. Now I was a little confused because we seem to start this phrase with a parentheses and end it with a dash.
Well, that's because I screwed up.
Okay, just making sure. I'm pretty sure it was that, but I was just making sure. Okay. Well,
The parenthesis would end after regem,
Right.
so just add one in.
Right. So if you put a
Okay.
parenthesis after regem, so they came to loiger as though once they came to the king Nebuchadnezzar.
right. Yeah, as though they, yeah. Velut quandam ad Nabucodonosor regem. Yeah. In Temoria, Istorum Babylonia. In Temoria, that is Babylon.
Mm-hmm. The Babylon of, notice of Istorum, of those people, right? Of Isti.
Of those people.
Of
Okay.
those, it was their Babylon. Right.
Okay. Yep. Exercera consuerant. They were accustomed to work.
So that's
Practice.
the verb that's going with quam. So that's the end of the relative clause.
Yeah. So that the Gentiles were accustomed to work with all these things and people and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, practice.
elephants and tigers.
Right? The right that they were accustomed to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Eadem nocte qua sanctus patricius Pascha. Okay, this one will. That night, which was Easter, St. Patrick.
Wait a minute. The Eadem, that same night,
In that same night.
right, in the same night in which St. Patrick was, and then you have to supply something like celebrating.
Celebrating. Okay, I was wondering if a verb was missing there.
Well, you kind of get it from exercerent.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What's
was
coming
working. Yeah, I wondered if he was doing a double with Patrick and with the pagan.
Yeah, he totally is. So the same night in which St. Patrick was celebrating the Easter,
Okay.
Ili,
Illam adorarent exercerentque festivitatem gentilem.
Mhm.
Those who is it would adore and oversee that Gentile festival.
That's right. So it happened that they were adoring him, well, adoring that festival and performing that
Performing it, yeah. Overseeing, performing, yeah.
festival.
Working it, yeah.
Right.
Working the crowd, as it were.
So I was wondering, arent, is that adore, some form of a word meaning adore?
Adorare. So
Okay. I must.
it's imperfect subjunctive.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So, Jen, let me just check up. So it's these. So adorarent and exercerent are imperfect subjunctives, right? I'm a little it's summertime, so I'm just
Yeah, I knew it was subjunctive.
Yeah.
And they are imperfect subjunctive because they depend on conjugate.
I don't see anything else in the sentence that could possibly.
Yeah.
Right. So it happened that they were adoring and celebrating.
And then illam, referring back to idolatriae solemnitatem, but also taking the object festivitatem.
That's a really
there like multiple times. It's a mess.
Right.
Well, not on sentence.
That's a really odd use of the subjunctive, I gotta say.
Well,
It happened that indirect discourse.
You see phrases like "it happened that," "accident ut." I don't think you actually do see contigit
That's
ut,
right.
but whatever is going on here is weird. But there are certainly similar phrases. Like "accident ut" would be totally normal.
Right.
Okay.
But,
Is it not that long from here somewhere?
right.
Because I was kind of sitting there going, okay, why are we throwing a subjunctive in the middle of this at the very end of the sentence?
I mean, I just don't see any other reason to have a
Two subjunctives. Yeah, it was like not a subjunctive, but a compound subjunctive. It was like, well, okay.
It's not, by the way. It's not proper indirect statement. It's
Right.
It really is a special. It's almost like subjunctive with special verbs, right? Like or subjunctive with ut. Special verbs taking ut, right? It happened that.
Yeah, that I've certainly seen. You know, I understand that, and ut, obviously, but I've never seen it with contigit.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No.
You know, it was just kind of that's weird.
I just think Virgil got lost in his own verbiage.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was drinking some of the mead.
It's a really colorful image, and I think it's really interesting how these little passages where he's listing all these different magic workers really tells a lot about Iron Age pagan Irish religion and magic, and it's just like, this is really fascinating. And then he just keeps on going because his goal is entirely different, of course.
Right.
But it's really cool. As I said, it's like, the circus came to town kind of thing. Let's talk about all the jugglers. So.
Right.
Let's see. There's an example of conjugate with ut in Plautus and a couple in Quintilian.
Okay.
So it's classical Latin. Okay.
All right.
Quintilian screws it all up for everybody.
Anybody want to keep going? You want to keep going, Paula? Or Era?
I've only gone a little bit. Somebody else wants to go, that'd be great.
Any
I
volunteers?
need to leave, so I'm gonna beg off right now.
Okay. Well,
Jen, you're the one.
I could go in a little bit. I just haven't.
Let Jen take.
Okay. Let Jen have some fun.
We'll get on to Mona.
I never get to translate, and so it's fine. Era quoque quidam mos apud illos. There was also a certain custom among those people, peredictum omnibus intimatus, a custom having been published to everybody, having been made known to everybody through an edict, but a custom that quicumque incunctis regionibus sive procul, sive juxta, in illa nocte incandisset ignem antequam in domu regia, id est in pallatio temoriae, succenderentur, periuret anima eoste populo suo. So a custom that, quicumque whoever, incandescet should have started a fire, ignem, so like incandescent ignem, should have lit a fire in the entire region, whether near or far, sive procol sive juxta, in illa nocte, on that night, antequam in domu regia, before a fire should have been lit in the royal palace, id est in Palatium Timore, that is in the palace of Tara. Before the fire should have been lit, or going back with antequam, periret, he would die, that person who had lit the fire, anima eos, with respect to his mind, or with respect to his spirit from the people, unless it's his spirit should die. I couldn't decide.
Do you think it has to be a spirit should die? Because you can't have a nominative of respect.
Well, no, it would have to mean his spirit should die. It just wasn't. The subject really should be quic.
Right. I agree.
Die with respect to his spirit, but I thought that was an odd thing to say.
Unless it's an ablative, unless he should die.
Well, that's what I thought. I marked it as ablative in my text.
Ablative in his spirit.
But
and even
if somebody said the subject changed to anima, I wouldn't.
Right. Okay.
Because I wasn't. Does this mean that they're like dying, or like being exiled, dying?
I take it DEAD, dead.
Okay.
I mean, it seemed to me a very definitive, like off with his head kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know, it seems more like that his spirit is cut off from his people kind of thing. I mean, anima eos de populo suo.
Right.
And that would be more exile.
Or maybe that's what that means. I hadn't thought about exile. I thought it was just a funny way of talking about killing the guy. Whoever.
Well, I mean, certainly you have it in Scandinavian. I think you have it in Celtic too. These are pretty violent societies, and there are a lot of kin killings and things like that. And people weren't necessarily, death was not necessarily a penalty that was always meted out for murder, let alone other things. And so it might be that it's an exile, permanent exile, or exile for a time, and then that they have to leave the island, basically.
Well, it does say in the next paragraph, "Periat ille morte."
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the two phrases shouldn't they mean the same thing?
I would think.
Good, yeah. I mean, if you've got parallel, they're pairing up two different things saying the same thing.
Right. I think it's just a dramatic way of saying he's going to die and nobody, and he'll be lost from the population forever because he'll be dead. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it.
I mean, looking at it again, I think maybe I told you I went back and forth, but I think anima maybe is nominative.
Mm-hmm.
His spirit should die from the people.
From the people, right? Mm-hmm. Like just a really strong way of saying dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could be.
15.2, Mona, you want to?
Okay. 15.2.
Yeah.
Sanctus ergo patricius, sanctam pascas celebrans, incendit divinum ignem, valde lucidum et benedictum, qui in nocte refulgens a cunctis paene per planetium campi habitantibus visus est. Ergo, so St. Patrick, celebrating Holy Easter, lit or kindled the divine fire, valde lucidum, very bright and blessed, which refulgens, gleaming in the night or shining in the night, was seen, visus est, by almost all of the inhabitants, all over or throughout para planetium campi, throughout the level ground of the plain. Okay, this kind of sounds weird because the plain is already level.
Right.
Not like you can have the slanted ground of the plain. Accidit ergo a temoria videretur, visoque eo conspexerunt omnes et mirati sunt. Accidit ergo, consequently, it happened that this fire, was seen from Tara, and eo viso que eo, and this thing having been seen, conspexerunt omnes, they all looked at it, understood it, and were astonished, or they wondered. Convocatisque senioribus et maioribus natu et magis, dixit eis rex, quid est hoc? And the elders and senioribus et maioribus, and those greater with respect to birth, like the nobles, and the magicians, the wizards, having been called together, the king said to them, "What is this? Quis est qui nefas ausus est facere in regno meo?" Who is it who has dared, ausus est, to facere, to commit this abomination or religiously not permissible thing, nefas, sin or sacrilege, something like that, in my kingdom? So who is it who has dared to commit this abomination or this sin in my kingdom? Pereat ille morte, and with in my kingdom, may that man perish, subjunctive, by death. There goes the soul. Et respondentibus omnibus senioribus et maioribus natu regi nesci isse illum qui hoc fecerit, magi responderant, rex in aeternum vive. And with all the elders, the senioribus, and those greater with respect to birth, responding to the king, that nesce isse, they did not know, or they were ignorant of, illum, that man, who might fecerit, who might have done this. The magicians responded, "King, live forever." So, hic ignis quem videmus, quique in hoc nocte acensus es, antequam sucenderetur in domu tua, id es palatio Timoriae, nisi extinctus fuerit in nocte hac, qua acensus est, numquam extingetur in aeternum. So, forever, this fire, hic ignis, this fire which we see, quique, and which has been lit or kindled hac nocte, on this night, before it might be lit in your house or your dwelling, domu tua, that is in the palace of Terra. Nisi extinctus fuerit, unless it will have been extinguished in nocte hac, on this night, qua, on which it was lit, it will never be extinguished into eternity.
Good.
Okay, so then, in super et omnes ignis nostrae consuetudinis supergradietur et ille qui incendit. And moreover, it, meaning the fire, supergradiator, it will overtake or surpass all the fires, nostrae consuetudinis, all the fires of our custom. And that man, Ille, who kindled it, and that man who kindled it. I missed the punctuation part. And then the last part, et regnum superveniens, quo incensus est, in hac nocte superabit nos omnes, et te et omnes homines regni tui seducet, et cadent omnia regna, et ipsum implebit omnia, et regnabit in saecula saeculorum. And that man, okay, so going back to the sentence, this fire is going to surpass all the fires that they know, or as part of their custom. And the one who lit it. And super et regnum superveniens, and the coming kingdom, a quo from which it was ignited. And on this, ignited on what a quo and kensus, from which it was ignited in Hac Nocte, on this night, it will overcome us all. And it will seducat, it will seduce you and all the men of your kingdom or realm, and cadent, and all the kingdoms, cadent omnia regna, all the kingdoms will fall to this one, or will be subject to him. And understood that kingdom itself will fill all things, and it will reign forever and ever.
Good. Yes, I find that regnum superveniens coming in as a subject very odd. I take it that too is biblical. The kingdom that is to come.
Somebody is heavily influenced by Belshazzar's feast. Yeah. Somebody's heavily influenced by Belshazzar's feast.
Yeah.
But there is a bit of a Revelations apocalypse here going too. Book of Revelation.
Yeah, I don't know where that phrase occurs. I need a concordance of the Latin Bible, and then the concordance of the Bible that they were using, because they weren't necessarily using the Vulgate. I don't know what they were doing. That's why we have specialists who do this, not us. Anyway, congratulations. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you, Matthew. Matt. Wait, you're Matthew now. Right. Oh, I've muted you. I've muted you and silenced you. I can't. I'm terrible. Matthew.
Unmute me. Yeah. I'm Matthew.
You're Matthew. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye now. All right.
All right.
So we're going to switch to Monday evening and see if that works for people. And we'll see if anybody wants to join us, and we'll soldier on. Thank you, everybody, especially Jen. I needed that help with that annoying paragraph. So I don't know. Keep at it. I'm not sure if I've said this before, but one reason I picked this text eventually was that 30 years ago I was talking to Peter Brown, who is the greatest person ever in late antiquity, and the most brilliant man I think I've ever met. And I asked him what I should teach if I were teaching medieval Latin at Swarthmore, and he said his favorite text was Murchu's Life of Patrick, and so I just put that away in the back of my mind. And it is very cool, right? This whole, if you Google the Feast of Beltane, which is what they're talking about,
right? It's coming up, folks.
It's cool, and so I don't know. There we have it.
All right. Well, thank you, William.
On that cheerful note, have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Everybody.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye. Bye, kitties.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.